My daughter's fiancé wanted my house, or I'd never see my grandchildren again. My name is Gwendolyn Carter, and 3 weeks ago, my daughter's fiancé, Blaine, delivered an ultimatum that changed everything. "Sign over your property deed," he said, "or watch Kendra move 2,800 miles away with your future grandchildren forever." Blaine called me an embarrassing immigrant who hurt their social status, a broke cleaning lady whose accent made his colleagues uncomfortable. He had lawyers draw up papers to transfer my house to Kendra for the grandchildren's security. What Blaine didn't know was brutal. The building where he worked, I owned it. The country club where he wanted to network, mine too. 13 commercial properties worth $3.9 million. Built from nothing while he thought I was just hired help. His 28-day deadline was almost up when he made one final mistake at a charity gala. If you've ever been underestimated because of how you look or sound, hit subscribe. You'll want to see what happened when Blaine learned who really owned his world. This is how I taught him the difference between demanding respect and earning it. It started small. Little comments Blaine would make when he thought I wasn't listening. "Kendra, your mother really needs to work on her English. It's embarrassing when she talks to my colleagues." I'd been speaking English for 22 years, built a business conducting meetings in English, but Blaine heard my slight Caribbean accent and decided I was stupid. The first time he corrected my grammar in public, we were at Amani's restaurant on Market Street. Kendra had invited me to celebrate their engagement. I was telling a story about my early days in America when Blaine interrupted. "Gwendolyn, it's I was, not I were. Basic grammar." The table went quiet. Kendra looked uncomfortable but said nothing. I just smiled and continued my story, but I filed that moment away. Then came the photo incident. Blaine was planning their engagement party and needed family pictures for the slideshow. He called Kendra while I was visiting. "Make sure your mom dresses nice for the photos. Maybe we can edit her work clothes out digitally. I don't want people asking questions." I was wearing my Empire Cleaning Services uniform, navy blue with my company logo. I'd come straight from inspecting 3 of my properties, but Blaine saw a janitor costume. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. Blaine had applied for membership at Belmont Country Club, prestigious place, $6,500 initiation fee. He needed character references from family members. "Kendra, we have a problem," he said, scrolling through the application on his laptop. "They want to interview family members. Your mother's situation could hurt our chances." "What situation?" Kendra asked. "You know. The whole immigrant thing. The cleaning job. Her accent. These people care about image." I was sitting right there in my own daughter's living room, being discussed like furniture. Maybe she could skip the interview. Say she's busy with work, or something. That's when I knew Blaine didn't just disrespect me, he was ashamed of me. Ashamed of the woman who raised his fiancé alone after her father died. Who worked 2 jobs to put Kendra through trade school. Who never missed a parent-teacher conference despite working 65-hour weeks. But here's what Blaine didn't understand about immigrants like me. We don't just work hard, we work smart. While he was worried about my accent, I was building an empire he couldn't imagine. Every morning at 5 a.m., I put on my work uniform and made rounds, not just cleaning buildings, inspecting my investments, checking on my properties. Meeting with tenants who paid me $41,500 every month in rent. My phone would ring constantly. "Miss Carter, we need approval for the new HVAC installation. Miss Carter, the downtown property taxes are due. Miss Carter, Liberty Financial wants to renew their lease early." Blaine thought these were janitorial emergencies, broken toilets, and spilled coffee. He had no idea building owners get called about million-dollar decisions. The irony? Every Tuesday and Thursday, I personally cleaned Liberty Financial Tower, where Blaine worked as a marketing coordinator. Not because I had to. I had employees for that. but because I liked staying connected to the work that built my success. I'd see him in the elevator. Sometimes he'd look right through me, just another invisible worker in a blue uniform. He never wondered why the building's security guards nodded respectfully when I passed. Never questioned why the building manager always seemed available when I needed something. 22 years ago, I mopped those same floors for minimum wage. Now I own them. But Blaine couldn't see past the mop bucket. His blindness was about to become very expensive. The night he called Kendra with his ultimatum, I was reviewing quarterly reports from my property management company. Revenue was up 16%. My commercial real estate portfolio had appreciated $625,000 in the past year alone. I set down the financial statements and picked up my phone. It was time to make some calls. Blaine wanted me to disappear from their lives. I was about to show him what happens when you try to erase a woman who owns half the buildings in his world. The official ultimatum came on a Saturday, August 18, 2024. I remember the date because it was the same day I closed on my 13th commercial property. Blaine had invited himself over for dinner. He brought a folder with legal documents and a rehearsed speech. "Gwendolyn, we need to discuss your role in our future family." He spread papers across my kitchen table like he was conducting a business meeting. Property transfer forms, quitclaim deeds, all prepared by some lawyer he'd hired. Kendra and I have been talking about our 5-year plan. We want children, multiple children, but we need financial security. I listened silently, stirring my tea. The same chipped mug I'd used for 15 years. Blaine's eyes kept darting to it with disgust. "Your house has significant equity. Based on recent sales in this neighborhood, we estimate it's worth $385,000. He was wrong. I'd bought it for $98,000 in 2002, fixed it up myself. Current market value was closer to $465,000, but I didn't correct him. If you sign these papers, the house transfers to Kendra. In exchange, we'll guarantee your grandchildren know their grandmother, but there have to be boundaries." He pulled out a typed list, actual bullet points. First, no showing up to school events in work clothes. Children need respectable role models. Second, no talking about Jamaica around the grandchildren. They need to focus on their American identity, not dwell on the past. Third, no stories about how hard life used to be. Children should focus on opportunity, not poverty. Kendra sat beside him, staring at her hands. My daughter. The girl I'd raised alone after Robert died. The child I'd driven to every soccer game, every school concert, every graduation. The young woman I'd supported when she chose trade school over college, when everyone else said she was throwing her life away. "What if I don't sign?" I asked. Blaine's smile got sharper. Then we moved to Seattle. Kendra's been offered a position there. Great money. But it's 2,800 miles away. Guess how often Grandma gets to visit? The threat was crystal clear. Sign over my house and accept their rules, or lose my daughter and future grandchildren forever. "You have 28 days to decide," he said, sliding the papers toward me. "But honestly, Gwendolyn, this is a generous offer. Most people your age would jump at the chance to simplify their lives. Most people my age, like I was some burden to be managed." After they left, I sat alone in my kitchen. The house felt different suddenly, smaller, like the walls were closing in. For 22 years, this house had been my symbol of making it in America. The first property I'd ever owned. I'd painted every room myself, fixed every broken pipe, shoveled every snowy driveway. But it wasn't just about the house. Blaine was demanding I erase myself, my accent, my work, my history, everything that made me who I was. The next morning I called my lawyer, Marcus Thompson from Thompson Baldwin & Associates, the firm that handled all my property acquisitions. "Marcus, I need you to look at something." I drove to his office downtown, showed him Blaine's documents. Marcus read them twice, his expression darkening. Gwen, this is technically legal. He's not forcing you, but it's coercive. The threat about moving, about limiting grandchildren access, that's emotional extortion. Can we fight it? We could, but that might push them to actually move. Is that a risk you want to take? I thought about that. About Kendra. About the grandchildren I didn't even have yet. About losing them before I ever got to know them. What if I just tell them the truth? Show them the properties, the bank statements, prove I'm not some struggling cleaning lady who needs their charity. Marcus leaned back in his chair. You could. But Gwen, we need to talk about something. Why haven't you told Kendra about your assets? In all these years? The question hit harder than I expected. I wanted her to respect the work, not the money. I wanted her to understand that honest labor has dignity regardless of the paycheck. That's admirable. But did it ever occur to you that hiding this from her might feel like a lie? That she might feel manipulated when she finds out? I wasn't manipulating her. Weren't you? You let her believe you were struggling. You let her worry about you. You let her fiancé pressure you into signing over your house, all while sitting on a $3.9 million real estate portfolio. Marcus's voice was gentle, but firm. Gwen, I've known you for 12 years. You're one of the smartest business people I've ever worked with. But this secret, it's not about protecting Kendra. It's about something else. I looked away. What do you mean? I think you're ashamed. Not of the cleaning work, of the success. I think some part of you still believes that a black immigrant woman shouldn't have this much. That people will think you got it through luck or worse. So you hide it. You keep wearing the uniform. You keep playing small. His words stung because they were true. I'd built an empire, but I still felt like that woman who'd arrived in Philadelphia 22 years ago with nothing. Still felt like I had to prove I deserved to exist in spaces where people looked like Blaine. What do? I asked quietly. You have two choices. You can tell Kendra the truth privately, show her everything, hope she understands. Or you can let Blaine keep pushing until you're forced to reveal it publicly. But Gwen, either way, this secret is coming out. The only question is whether you control how. I drove home thinking about Marcus's words. About shame. About the uniform I wore every day even though I employed 58 people. About the chipped mug I drank from even though I could afford Crystal. That evening, Kendra called. Mom, have you thought about the papers? I'm thinking. Blaine's getting anxious. He's worried you're going to fight this. Would that be so wrong? To fight for my own home? Kendra was quiet for a moment. Mom, I know this is hard. But you have to think about what's best for everyone. You're 56 years old. How much longer can you keep working like this? Cleaning buildings, living alone in that big house. This way, you'd have family taking care of everything. The house would stay in the family. The grandchildren would have security. Everyone wins. Everyone wins. Except the woman who built everything being asked to give it all away. I need more time, I said. You have 28 days. But Mom, please don't make this difficult. Blaine's trying to help. He cares about our future. After we hung up, I pulled out my laptop, started going through my property files. Liberty Financial Tower, Independence Plaza, Belmont Professional Center, Market Street Commons. 13 commercial properties across Philadelphia. Each one a story. Each one proof that I'd made it despite everyone who'd underestimated me. Including, apparently, my own daughter. I thought about what Marcus said. About shame, about hiding, about playing small. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to tell Kendra privately. I wasn't going to sit her down with bank statements and explain myself like I'd done something wrong. If Blaine wanted to play games, if he wanted to pressure me into giving up everything I'd built, then he was going to learn a lesson. About assumptions, about respect, about what happens when you try to erase someone who refuses to disappear. I picked up my phone and called Margaret Hutchinson. She coordinates the annual Belmont Charity Gala, the event where Philadelphia's elite gather to network and donate. Margaret, it's Gwendolyn Carter. I'd like to make a donation this year. A significant one. Gwendolyn, that's wonderful. How much were you thinking? $50,000. But I have some conditions. There was a pause. $50,000 was more than most individual donors gave. What kind of conditions? I want to present the check personally at the gala, on stage, with full acknowledgement of my business holdings. And I want to make sure Blaine Whitmore is there. He works at Liberty Financial Tower. I believe he's been trying to get into your networking circles. I know Blaine. He's been requesting an invitation for months. We don't usually invite marketing coordinators, but if you're making this donation, I'm sure we can accommodate your requests. Good. One more thing. I want Judge Patricia Morrison there. She's on the Belmont Country Club board. I understand Blaine has a pending membership application. Patricia will definitely be there. Gwendolyn, may I ask what this is about? Let's just say I'm tired of being invisible. The gala was in 3 weeks. That gave me 21 days before Blaine's 28-day deadline expired. Perfect timing. Over the next 2 weeks, I did something I hadn't done in years. I stopped wearing my uniform outside of actual cleaning work. I had my hair done at a proper salon instead of doing it myself. I bought a dress for the gala. Not flashy, but elegant. The kind of dress that said I belonged in rooms where decisions got made. Kendra noticed. Mom, you look different. Did something happen? Just taking care of myself. You're always saying I should. It's good. You look, I don't know, more confident. She hesitated. Have you thought more about the papers? Blaine's getting really anxious. The deadline's coming up. I know. I'll have an answer soon. What I didn't tell her was that I'd had Marcus quietly investigate Blaine's background. I wanted to know who I was dealing with. The report came back on a Wednesday afternoon. I read it in my office, the one at Empire Cleaning Services that Kendra had never visited. Blaine Michael Whitmore, born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Mother, Patricia Whitmore, worked as a housekeeper at the Harrisburg Medical Center for 23 years. Father, unknown, not listed on birth certificate, grew up in subsidized housing, free lunch program through high school, scholarship to Penn State, marketing degree. First in his family to graduate college. I sat back in my chair, staring at the report. Blaine's mother was a housekeeper, just like me. He'd grown up poor, clawed his way to a marketing coordinator position, and now he was trying desperately to distance himself from where he came from. That's why he hated me. Not because I was an immigrant, not because I cleaned buildings, because I reminded him of his mother, of the life he was trying to erase. I called Marcus. I need you to find something out. Blaine's mother, Patricia Whitmore, is she still alive? I can check. Why? Because I think Blaine needs to remember where he came from. 2 days later, Marcus called back. Patricia Whitmore, 61 years old, retired last year from Harrisburg Medical Center after 23 years, lives in a small apartment in Harrisburg. Doesn't seem to have much contact with her son. I found her phone number if you want it. I took the number but didn't call. Not yet. I needed to understand more first. The next time I cleaned Liberty Financial Tower, I did something I rarely did. I stayed late. Waited until Blaine's department had mostly cleared out. Then I walked past his cubicle. He was still there, working on some presentation. Evening, Mr. Whitmore, I said, emptying his trash can. He barely looked up. Yeah, thanks. Big presentation? Client pitch. Trying to land a major account. He glanced at me, annoyed. Can you come back later? I need to concentrate. Of course. Sorry to disturb you. As I walked away, I saw it. On his desk, partially hidden under papers, a small framed photo, a younger Blaine with a woman who had his eyes. She was wearing a housekeeper's uniform, the same kind I wore every day. He kept her picture, hidden under his work, close enough to have, far enough away that no one would see it. That's when I understood. Blaine wasn't just ashamed of me. He was ashamed of himself, of his mother, of everything he'd come from. And the harder he tried to run from it, the more desperate he became to erase any reminder. I walked back to the cleaning closet and called Marcus. I want to do something that might be cruel, but I think it needs to happen. What do you have in mind? I want to invite Patricia Whitmore to the charity gala. As my guest, I want Blaine to see his mother and me in the same room, both of us owning who we are. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Gwen, that could backfire badly. That could push Kendra further away from you. I know, but Marcus Blaine is making my daughter ashamed of me, and I think he's doing it because he's ashamed of his own mother. Someone needs to show him that shame is a choice. This could destroy your relationship with Kendra. If I sign those papers and erase myself, I lose her anyway. At least this way, I'm fighting for something that matters. All right, I'll reach out to Patricia. But Gwen, you need to be prepared for the possibility that this doesn't go the way you hope, that Kendra chooses Blaine, that you end up alone. I've been alone before, Marcus. I survived it. But that was a lie. I'd never been truly alone. I'd always had Kendra, my daughter. The girl I'd raised to be strong, independent, unashamed of her roots. And now I was about to risk losing her to prove a point. The gala was in 1 week. Patricia Whitmore had agreed to come, though she'd sounded confused about why her son's future mother-in-law was inviting her. I hadn't told her about Blaine's ultimatum. I'd just said I wanted to honor working women at the event. Kendra called on Thursday. Mom, Blaine got an invitation to the Belmont Charity Gala. Did you know about this? I might have mentioned your name to someone. It's good networking for him. He's so excited. He's been trying to get into these events for years. This could be huge for his career. She paused. Are you going? Yes. I'm making a donation. A donation? Mom, those tickets are $500 each. Can you afford that? I'm managing. Mom, this is exactly what Blaine's been worried about. You spending money you don't have trying to keep up appearances. Please don't embarrass yourself. Don't embarrass yourself. My own daughter, worried I'd embarrass her by existing in a space where people like Blaine wanted to network. I'll be fine, Kendra. You just worry about having a good time. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen looking at the papers Blaine had left, the quitclaim deed, the transfer forms, the typed list of rules for how I could interact with my future grandchildren. 7 days until the gala. 7 days until I either freed myself or lost everything that mattered. I picked up the phone and made one more call. To Tom Bradley, my property manager. Tom, I need you to do me a favor. That lease renewal Blaine's company has been negotiating for Liberty Financial Tower. Hold off on approving it. Tell them the building owner wants to review it personally. The owner? Tom sounded confused. Gwen, you are the owner. I know, but Blaine doesn't know that. I want him anxious. I want him wondering who's making decisions about his company's future. This feels personal. It is personal. Very personal. The night before the gala, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Kendra, about the moment she'd find out I'd been hiding $3.9 million in assets for 22 years. About how betrayed she'd feel. About how she might never forgive me. Marcus's words kept echoing. This secret isn't about protecting Kendra. It's about something else. He was right. I'd hidden my success because some part of me believed I didn't deserve it. Believed that a black immigrant woman who cleaned toilets shouldn't also own buildings. That people would think I'd gotten lucky. Or worse, that I'd done something dishonest. So, I'd kept playing small, kept wearing the uniform, kept living in the modest house, kept driving the sensible car. All while my bank accounts grew and my properties appreciated and my daughter worried I was struggling. And now Blaine, who'd done the exact same thing with his own mother, was forcing me to choose: stay small and invisible or risk everything to stand up. I got out of bed at 3 a.m. and drove to my office, pulled out all my property files, started making a list, not of what I owned, but of what it had cost. The 18-hour days in those first years, the times I'd gone without meals to save money for down payments. The Christmas when Kendra was 12 and I'd worked through the holiday because I couldn't afford to take time off. The parent-teacher conferences I'd missed because I was cleaning offices. The school plays I'd arrived late to, still in my uniform, smelling like cleaning solution. I'd sacrificed everything to build this empire, and I'd told myself it was for Kendra, to give her a better life, to show her what was possible. But Marcus was right. It wasn't just for her, it was for me, to prove that I mattered, that I was more than what people saw when they looked at me. And now I was about to use that empire as a weapon against my daughter's fiancé, a man who was doing to his own mother exactly what I was afraid people would do to me: erase her, pretend she didn't exist. The gala was at 7 p.m. I spent the day getting ready: hair, makeup, dress. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked like someone who belonged in ballrooms, someone who made decisions about million-dollar properties. But underneath the dress, I was still that woman who'd arrived in Philadelphia 22 years ago with $300 and a dream. Still that woman who'd cleaned toilets to feed her daughter. Still that woman who'd chosen honest work over easy money. Patricia Whitmore arrived at my house at 5:30 p.m. She was a small woman, 61 years old, with kind eyes and hands rough from decades of work. She wore a simple dress that had probably cost $50 at Macy's. "Miss Carter, I'm still not sure why you invited me to this event. Blaine never mentioned you were involved with the charity. Blaine doesn't know a lot of things about me. Or about you, I suspect." Her face tightened. "My son and I don't talk much. He's busy with his career, his new life. How long has it been since you've seen him?" 3 years. He sends money sometimes, but he doesn't visit, doesn't call. She looked down at her hands. "I think he's ashamed of me, of where he came from." "I know. That's why I invited you, because someone needs to show him that there's no shame in honest work, that the women who raise these men deserve respect, not erasure." Patricia studied me carefully. "What exactly are you planning tonight?" "I'm planning to tell the truth, about who I am, about what I've built, and I'm planning to make sure Blaine understands that you can't run from your past. You can only choose whether to honor it or hide it." We arrived at the Belmont Country Club at 6:45 p.m. The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, Philadelphia's elite in evening wear. I saw Judge Patricia Morrison near the bar, Tom Bradley talking to property owners I recognized, Margaret Hutchinson coordinating staff. And there, near the entrance, Blaine and Kendra. He wore a rented tuxedo that didn't quite fit. She wore a dress I'd never seen before. They looked nervous, excited, like this was their chance to break into a world that had always excluded them. Kendra saw me first. Her eyes went wide. "Mom? What are you doing here?" "I'm a donor. I told you I was coming." Blaine looked at Patricia, then at me, then back at Patricia. His face went pale. "Mom? What? What are you doing here?" "Miss Carter invited me. She said she wanted to honor working women. You need to leave." Blaine's voice was low, panicked. "Mom, this is a professional event. You can't be here." "Why not?" Patricia's voice was quiet but firm. "Because you're ashamed of me? Because you don't want your colleagues to know your mother cleaned hospital rooms for 23 years? Kendra looked confused. "Blaine, I don't understand. Why didn't you tell me your mom was a housekeeper?" "It's not relevant. She's retired now. It doesn't matter." "But you told me your parents were both professionals. That your mom worked in hospital administration." I simplified things. "Does it matter?" It matters because you've been telling my mom she's embarrassing us with her cleaning work, and your own mother did the same job. Kendra's voice was rising. It matters because you've been lying to me. Margaret Hutchinson approached us. Gwendolyn, we're ready for your presentation whenever you're comfortable. Presentation? Blaine looked at me. What presentation? I'm making a donation tonight. $50,000 to the Children's Literacy Program. His face went from pale to white. $50,000? Where did you get $50,000? From my business, Empire Cleaning Services, and from my investment portfolio. Investment portfolio? What investment portfolio? You're a cleaning lady. I'm a business owner. I employ 58 people, and I own 13 commercial properties across Philadelphia worth $3.9 million, including the building where you work, Liberty Financial Tower. I'm your landlord, Blaine. The color drained from his face completely. Around us, conversations stopped. People turned to listen. Kendra stood frozen, staring at me like I was a stranger. That's impossible. You clean buildings. You wear a uniform. You live in that small house. You can't possibly own. I personally clean some buildings because I like staying connected to the work that built my success. I wear a uniform because I'm proud of honest labor. I live in that house because it's the first property I ever owned, and I'm not ashamed of it. Unlike you, Blaine, I don't run from where I came from. Judge Patricia Morrison had joined our circle. Did you say you own Liberty Financial Tower? Yes, Your Honor. I purchased it 7 years ago, along with Independence Plaza, Belmont Professional Center, and 10 other commercial properties. And the Belmont Country Club? Someone mentioned you own that too. I'm a silent partner, 40% ownership stake. I bought in 5 years ago. Blaine looked like he might be sick. You own part of the country club, the club where I applied for membership, where I've been waiting for approval. Your application is under review. Judge Morrison and I will discuss it. I turned to Kendra. Baby, I know you have questions, but right now, I need to make this presentation. We'll talk after. Talk? Mom, you've been lying to me for my entire life. You let me think you were struggling. You let me worry about you. You let Blaine pressure you into signing over your house when you could buy 10 houses. Her voice broke. How could you do this to me? I was trying to protect you. Protect me from what? From knowing my mother was successful? From being proud of you? She looked around at the watching crowd. Or were you protecting yourself? Hiding because you were ashamed? The accusation hit like a physical blow because it was true. But before I could answer, Margaret touched my arm. Gwendolyn, we really need to start the program. I walked to the stage, leaving Kendra and Blaine and Patricia standing there. The ballroom held maybe 200 people, all of them watching, judging, waiting to see what the cleaning lady had to say. Margaret introduced me. Tonight, we're honored to have a special presentation from Gwendolyn Carter, owner of Empire Cleaning Services and one of Philadelphia's most successful commercial real estate investors, Miss NDNTF. Carter has generously donated $50,000 to our children's literacy program. I stepped to the microphone, looked out at the crowd, saw Kendra near the back, tears streaming down her face. Saw Blaine, his face a mixture of shock and humiliation. Saw Patricia Whitmore, standing alone, looking proud and sad at the same time. 22 years ago, I came to America with my daughter. She was 6 years old. My husband had just died. I had $300 and a dream. I started cleaning offices at night while Kendra slept at a neighbor's house. Minimum wage. No benefits. Just honest work and determination. The room was silent. I built Empire Cleaning Services one contract at a time. Saved every dollar. Bought my first property, a small office building, 8 years after I arrived, then another, and another, Today, I employ 58 people and own 13 commercial properties. But I never stopped wearing my uniform, never stopped doing the work that built everything. I paused. Some of you in this room have seen me cleaning your offices. You've walked past me like I was invisible. You've made assumptions about who I was based on what I did, and I let you. Because some part of me believed those assumptions, believed that a black immigrant woman who cleaned toilets couldn't also own buildings. Judge Morrison was nodding. Others looked uncomfortable. Tonight, I want to honor someone. Patricia Whitmore, please come up here. Patricia looked terrified, but she walked to the stage. I took her hand. Patricia worked as a housekeeper at Harrisburg Medical Center for 23 years. She raised her son alone, put him through college, gave him opportunities she never had, and he became so successful that he forgot where he came from, forgot that his mother's calloused hands paid for his degree. Tonight, I want everyone here to see what I see. A woman who deserves respect, a woman who built something meaningful with honest work. A woman whose son should be proud of her, not ashamed. I looked directly at Blaine. Because there's no shame in cleaning buildings. The shame is in forgetting the people who cleaned them so you could have a better life. The room erupted in applause. Patricia was crying. Margaret was crying. Even Judge Morrison looked moved. But Kendra was gone. I scanned the room and saw her walking toward the exit, Blaine following her. After the presentation, after the check was handed over, after the thank yous and the networking and the business cards exchanged, I found Patricia in the lobby. "Thank you," she whispered. "No one's ever, Blaine has never, thank you. You deserve to be seen. But you might have lost your daughter to make that point." She was right. I'd won the battle and possibly lost the war. I drove home alone. The house felt emptier than ever. The $465,000 house I'd fought to keep. The symbol of my success that now felt like a monument to my failures. Atvienwalika. Nulis PM. My phone rang. Kendra. "I need to talk to you. I'm coming over." She arrived 20 minutes later. Blaine wasn't with her. She sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Blaine had spread his ultimatum papers 3 weeks ago. "I don't even know who you are," she said. "My whole life, I thought you were one person, and tonight I found out you're someone completely different." "I'm the same person, Kendra. I've always been the same person." "No. The person I knew was honest. The person I knew didn't keep secrets, didn't hide millions of dollars while letting her daughter worry about her." She was crying now. "Do you know how many times I've laid awake worrying about you? Wondering how you'd afford retirement? Wondering if you'd end up in some nursing home because you couldn't take care of yourself? I never wanted you to worry. Then why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me believe you were struggling?" I thought about Marcus's words, about shame, about playing small, about the truth I'd been avoiding for 22 years. "Because I was afraid," I said quietly. "Afraid that if people knew I had money, they'd treat me differently. They'd think I didn't deserve it. They'd think I'd gotten it through luck or by taking advantage of someone. I was afraid that you'd see me differently, that you'd think the success mattered more than the work. So you lied to me." "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." "That's the same thing, Mom. That's exactly the same thing." She stood up. "Blaine was right about one thing. You do have attachment issues. You're so attached to being seen as the struggling immigrant that you can't accept being successful. You're so attached to proving you work hard that you can't enjoy what you've built." Blaine was trying to steal my house. Was he? Or was he trying to help his fiancé's mother who he thought was struggling? She grabbed her purse. "You humiliated him tonight. In front of 200 people. You brought his estranged mother. You exposed his lies about his background. You destroyed him to teach me some lesson I don't even understand. I was trying to show him that you can't erase where you come from. No, you were trying to punish him for seeing through your act, for asking questions you didn't want to answer. Kendra, he called you a burden. He tried to force me to sign over my house. He wanted to move you 2,800 miles away and control when I could see my grandchildren. Because he thought you needed help. He thought you were struggling and too proud to admit it. And you know what? You are too proud. Too proud to be honest with your own daughter. Too proud to let anyone help you. Too proud to admit that maybe, just maybe, your secrecy caused all of this. The words hung in the air between us. Heavy, true. I'm going home, Kendra said. I need time to think. About everything. About you. About Blaine. About what's real and what's been a lie my entire life. Are you still going to Seattle? I don't know. Blaine's upstairs in the car. He's been crying since we left the gala. Humiliated. His mother called him 3 times, and he can't bring himself to answer. You did that, Mom. You destroyed him. He tried to destroy me first. Did he? Or did he just see a woman he thought needed help and offered it in the only way he knew how? She opened the door. You're not the only person who's ashamed of where they came from, Mom. You're just the only one who built an empire to prove you'd escaped it. After she left, I sat in my kitchen until dawn, thinking about everything she'd said, about Blaine crying in the car, about Patricia calling her son, trying to repair a relationship that had been broken for years, about the 200 people who'd watched me humiliate a young man in public to prove a point about dignity. At 6 a.m., I called Marcus. I think I made a mistake. What happened? I told him everything, the presentation, Patricia, Blaine's reaction, Kendra's words. When I finished, Marcus was quiet for a long time. Gwen, I warned you this could backfire. I know. You chose public humiliation over private conversation. You chose revenge over reconciliation. And now you might lose your daughter. I thought I was standing up for myself, for Patricia, for all the women who get erased. You were. But you were also punishing Blaine for reminding you of your own shame, for seeing through the act you've been performing for 22 years. Marcus sighed. What are you going to do now? I don't know. Kendra's right. I've been hiding, not just from other people, from myself, from the truth that I built something real and meaningful, and I'm terrified someone's going to take it away. No one can take it away, Gwen. You own it, legally, financially. The only person who can take it away is you. After we hung up, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to Liberty Financial Tower, not to clean, not to inspect, but to stand in the lobby and look at the directory. Williams Property Holdings, building owner. My name, right there on the wall, where Blaine had walked past it twice a day for 7 years and never noticed. Or maybe he had noticed. Maybe he'd seen it and refused to believe it. Because believing it would mean confronting his own assumptions, his own prejudices, his own shame. I took the elevator to the 14th floor, Blaine's office. He was at his desk, even though it was Saturday. He looked up when I knocked. His eyes were red. What do you want? Haven't you done enough? I came to apologize. He laughed. A bitter, broken sound. Apologize? You humiliated me in front of everyone I've been trying to impress for years. You brought my mother. You exposed my lies. You destroyed any credibility I had. I know, and I'm sorry. Not for telling the truth about myself, but for the way I did it. For using your pain to prove a point. Why? Why did you do it? I sat down across from his desk. Because you reminded me, of the shame I've been carrying for 22 years. The belief that who I am isn't good enough. That I have to hide my success or people will think I don't deserve it. I don't know what you're talking about. Your mother, Blaine. You told Kendra your parents were professionals. You said your mom worked in hospital administration. You hid the fact that she was a housekeeper for 23 years. Just like I've been hiding my success by wearing a uniform and living in a modest house. He looked away. It's not the same. It's exactly the same. We're both ashamed of where we came from. We're both trying to prove we've escaped it, and we're both hurting the people who love us because we can't accept ourselves. I'm not ashamed of my mother. Then why haven't you called her? She's been trying to reach you since last night. Because I don't know what to say. I don't know how to explain why I lied about her. Why I've been avoiding her for 3 years. You start with "I'm sorry," and then you tell her the truth. That you were scared, that you thought erasing her would make you belong in places where people like us don't usually belong. Blaine put his head in his hands. I thought if I could just get into the right circles, join the right club, marry into the right family, then I'd finally be somebody. Then I'd finally matter. You already matter. Your mother raised you alone. Put you through college. Made sure you had opportunities she never had. That matters more than any country club membership. Does it? Because it feels like the only thing people see when they look at me is where I came from, the trailer park kid, the scholarship student, the one who doesn't really belong. I know that feeling. I've lived with it for 22 years. But Blaine, the solution isn't erasing where you came from. It's owning it, being proud of it, using it to build something real instead of hiding behind borrowed status. He looked up at me. Is that what you're doing? Owning it? I'm trying. For the first time in 22 years, I'm trying. We sat there for a while in silence. Two people who'd built their lives around shame, around the fear that who they were wasn't good enough. What about Kendra? He asked finally. She's so angry at both of us. She has a right to be. I lied to her for her entire life, and you lied to her about your family. We both used her to run from our own insecurities. Can we fix it? I don't know, maybe, but it starts with honesty, real honesty. Not just about our bank accounts or our parents' jobs, but about why we hid those things, about the shame we've been carrying. Blaine nodded slowly. My mom's staying at the Courtyard Marriott on Market Street. She called this morning, said she's not leaving until I talk to her. You should go. Tonight. Before you lose any more time. What about you? What are you going to do about Kendra? I'm going to tell her the truth, the whole truth. About why I hid my success, about the shame I've been carrying, about how I let my fear of not being enough damage our relationship. Will she forgive you? I don't know. Maybe not, but I have to try. I stood to leave. At the door, I turned back. Blaine, about the house, the papers you wanted me to sign. You were right about one thing. I do need to think about my future. About what happens when I can't take care of myself anymore. But I can't do that by giving up everything I've built. I can't erase myself to make you comfortable. I know. I see that now. He hesitated. For what it's worth, I never really wanted your house. I wanted security. I wanted to know that Kendra and our kids would be taken care of. And I thought the only way to get that was to control everything. You can't control love, Blaine. You can't control family. You can only choose to be honest and hope that's enough. I left him there and drove to Kendra's apartment. It was 3 p.m. I didn't call first. I just knocked and waited. She opened the door. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Mom, I can't do this right now. I know. But I need to say something, and I need you to listen. Really listen. Not to my excuses, but to the truth. She let me in. We sat on her couch. The apartment was small, neat, filled with tools and work gear. Evidence of the trade she'd chosen, the honest labor she'd learned from watching me. When your father died, I was terrified. I started, not just of being alone, but of failing, of not being enough for you, of proving everyone right who said a black immigrant woman couldn't make it in America. Kendra didn't say anything, just listened. So, I worked. I worked harder than anyone. I built empire cleaning services. I bought properties. I saved every dollar. And somewhere along the way, the money stopped being about survival and started being about proving something. Proving I deserved to exist in a world that kept telling me I didn't belong. But you never told me. You let me think you were struggling because I was ashamed, not of the work, but of the success. I thought if people knew I had money, they'd think I didn't deserve it. They'd think I'd gotten lucky or taken advantage of someone. So I kept hiding, kept wearing the uniform, kept living small even though I'd built something big. You didn't trust me with the truth. No, I didn't. And that wasn't about you. It was about me, about my own fear and insecurity. And Kendra, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I let you worry about me. I'm sorry I lied by omission for 22 years. I'm sorry I used the gala to humiliate Blaine instead of sitting down with both of you and being honest. Kendra wiped her eyes. When I found out last night, I felt so stupid, like everyone knew but me. Like my own mother thought I couldn't handle the truth. I didn't think you couldn't handle it. I thought I couldn't handle what it would mean to finally admit I'd succeeded. To finally stop performing struggle and accept that I'd built something real. What about Blaine? What about the ultimatum? Was any of that real? It was real. He did want me to sign over the house. But Marcus reviewed his documents. They were poorly written, full of loopholes. I don't think Blaine really understood what he was asking for. I think he saw someone he thought needed help and tried to provide it in the only way he knew how, by controlling everything. Yes. Because that's how he deals with his own insecurity. By controlling. By trying to create the perfect image. By erasing anything that doesn't fit the story he wants to tell about himself. Kendra was quiet for a long time. I don't know if I can marry him, Mom. Not after this. Not after seeing how ashamed he is of his own mother, how he lied about her for years. That's your decision to make, not mine. But Kendra, people can change. People can learn, if they want to, if they're willing to do the work. Did you change? After 22 years of hiding? I'm trying, starting now, starting with this conversation, starting with being honest about why I hid and what it cost. What did it cost? It cost me my relationship with you. It cost me the ability to enjoy what I'd built. It cost me 22 years of living authentically instead of performing a role I thought people expected. Kendra leaned back against the couch. I need time, Mom. Time to process this. Time to figure out what I want. Time to decide if I can forgive you. I understand. And I need you to do something for me. Anything. I need you to stop hiding. Stop wearing the uniform when you don't have to. Stop living in that house because you think you need to prove something. Stop pretending you're less than you are. I don't know if I know how to do that. Then learn. Because I can't have a relationship with someone who's performing all the time. I need the real you. Not the immigrant struggle story. Not the cleaning lady act. Just you, my mom. The woman who built a $3.9 million empire and is too scared to admit it. I nodded, unable to speak, because she was right, about all of it. Go home, Mom. Think about who you want to be, and when you figure it out, call me. We'll talk. I drove home through streets I'd driven for 22 years, past buildings I owned but never claimed, past the country club where I was a silent partner, past my life, lived in shadows. When I got home, I took off my Empire Cleaning Services uniform, hung it in the closet, and I didn't know if I'd ever put it on again. 5 weeks later, I was sitting in my office at Empire Cleaning Services when Tom Bradley called. Gwen, we have a problem. Liberty Financial wants to renegotiate their lease. They're saying the publicity from the gala has complicated things. What kind of complications? They're getting pressure from their board. Something about optics. About their marketing coordinator's personal drama affecting the company image. They want to either break the lease early or negotiate a significant reduction in rent. Blaine's drama, my revelation. The fallout neither of us had fully anticipated. Tell them we'll discuss it, but not over the phone. I want a face-to-face meeting with their CEO. You sure? That's going to mean revealing yourself to more people. I'm done hiding, Tom. Schedule the meeting. That afternoon, Kendra called. Mom, can we meet for coffee? There's something I need to tell you. We met at a cafe on Market Street. Kendra looked different, lighter somehow, like a weight had lifted. Blaine and I broke up. Officially. Yesterday. I'm sorry, baby. I'm not. Mom, I watched him for 5 weeks. Watched him try to rebuild his relationship with his mother. Watched him apologize to colleagues. Watched him deal with the fallout from the gala. And you know what I realized? What? He wasn't changing. He was performing change, just like you performed struggle. He was doing all the right things, saying all the right words, but underneath, he was still ashamed. Still trying to control the narrative. Still unable to just be honest. People need time to change. I know, but I can't wait around hoping he figures it out. I spent my whole life watching you hide. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life watching him do the same thing. What are you going to do? I'm moving. Not to Seattle, but out of Philadelphia. I got a job offer in Baltimore. Commercial electrical work. Good pay. Fresh start. My heart sank. Baltimore? That's 2 hours away. I know. But Mom, I need distance. From you. From Blaine. From all the drama. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not caught between other people's shame. Have I lost you? Kendra reached across the table and took my hand. No. You haven't lost me. But you can't have the version of me that worries about you and tries to fix everything. You get the real me. Who visits when she wants to, who calls when she has time, who loves you but doesn't owe you performance. I can live with that. Can you? Because I need to know you're going to be okay, that you're not going to spend the next 22 years hiding in a different way. I met with a therapist last week. First session. We're working on why I built my identity around shame. Good. That's good. Kendra squeezed my hand. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you, not for the buildings or the money, but for finally being honest. It's terrifying, I know, but it's also the only way forward. After she left, I sat in the cafe thinking about loss, about Kendra moving to Baltimore, about the relationship we'd had versus the relationship we might build, about letting go of the daughter I'd raised and accepting the woman she'd become. That evening, Patricia Whitmore called. Miss Carter, I wanted to thank you again for the gala, for helping me reconnect with Blaine. We've been having coffee once a week. It's slow, it's awkward, but it's something. How is he? Struggling. He lost his job at Liberty Financial. Something about his personal life affecting company image, but he's looking for new opportunities. And he's being honest now, on his resume, about where he came from, who his mother is. That takes courage. So does what you did, revealing yourself like that, risking everything to stand up. I'm not sure it was courage. I think it might have been fear dressed up as bravery. What's the difference? Courage is doing the right thing because it's right. Fear is doing the dramatic thing to avoid doing the hard thing. I should have sat down with Kendra and Blaine privately, should have been honest years ago. Instead, I made a spectacle, hurt people, damaged relationships. But you started a conversation about shame, about class, about immigrants and honest work, and who gets to decide what's respectable. That matters, Miss Carter. That matters more than perfect execution. After we hung up, I looked around my office, the one I'd maintained for 18 years but never really inhabited, the one with my name on the door that I'd barely used, because I was always out in my uniform, cleaning, proving, performing. I made a decision. Tomorrow, I'd call a real estate agent. List the house. The one I'd held onto for 23 years as proof I'd made it. Buy something that fit who I actually was. Not too big, not too small, just honest. And I'd update the company website, add my photo, my story, my actual story, Not the sanitized version, but the truth about building an empire while carrying shame, about succeeding while feeling like a fraud, about finally learning that you can't hide from yourself no matter how many buildings you own. 6 months later, I stood in the lobby of my new condo, not the house I'd held onto for 23 years, not a mansion to prove my success, just a 2-bedroom condo in a modern building downtown. Windows overlooking the city I'd built my empire in, space that felt like me. Finally, the $465,000 house had sold in 3 weeks. I donated half the proceeds to a scholarship fund for children of service workers. The other half went into a trust for Kendra. Not to control her, just to support her when she was ready. Empire Cleaning Services was thriving. Revenue up 19% since the gala. Turns out, businesses liked hiring cleaning services owned by successful commercial real estate investors. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I'd made changes. Promoted 3 long-term employees to management positions, reduced my own hours, hired a CEO to handle day-to-day operations. I still cleaned buildings sometimes, but now it was a choice, not a performance. Liberty Financial had broken their lease, moved to a competitor's building. It cost me $180,000 in lost revenue, but Tom found new tenants within 2 months, a nonprofit serving immigrant families. I gave them a 30% discount on market rate, not to hide, but because I wanted to. Blaine had moved back to Harrisburg, living with his mother while he rebuilt his career. He'd sent me a letter last month, handwritten, apologizing for the ultimatum, thanking me for forcing him to confront his shame. He was working as a marketing consultant now, helping small businesses, making less money but, he wrote, feeling more honest. Kendra visited every few weeks. Our relationship was different now, more careful, more boundaried, but also more real. She'd started dating someone, a teacher named Jason, who didn't care about country clubs or status, who thought her work as an electrician was impressive, not embarrassing. He reminds me of Dad, she'd said last visit, not trying to be someone he's not, just comfortable in his own skin. I'd cried when she said that, because Robert had been comfortable, had loved me in my uniform, had never made me feel like I needed to be more or less than I was. And I'd spent 22 years after his death trying to prove something he'd never asked me to prove. Today was my 57th birthday. Sister Ruth was throwing me a party at Mount Calvary Baptist Church. Not a charity gala with Philadelphia's elite, just church friends, employees, tenants, people who'd known me for years, some who'd known about my properties, some who hadn't. All of them invited to celebrate not my success but just me. Patricia Whitmore had driven down from Harrisburg. She brought Blaine. It was the first time I'd seen him since our conversation in his office 6 months ago. He looked different, healthier, less desperate to impress. Miss Carter, thank you for inviting us, and happy birthday. Thank you for coming. Mom wanted me to tell you something. She's been thinking about going back to work, part-time, at a hospital here in Philadelphia. She's 61, but she misses it, misses feeling useful. Tell her to call me. I know people at several hospitals. I can make introductions. That's very kind. After everything, Blaine, we both made mistakes. We both hurt people. But we're both trying to do better. That's what matters. He nodded. Kendra told me you sold the house. That must have been hard. It was, but also freeing. I was holding on to it for the wrong reasons, trying to prove I'd made it, but I'd already made it. I just couldn't see it. Marcus arrived with Judge Patricia Morrison. They'd become friends since the gala. Patricia had pushed through several initiatives at Belmont Country Club about inclusive membership. She'd also invited me to join the board publicly. I declined, not because I was hiding, but because I didn't want to spend my time in country clubs. I wanted to spend it building things that mattered. At 2 p.m., Sister Ruth brought out a cake. Everyone sang. I blew out the candles and made a wish, not for more success, not for reconciliation with Kendra that erased all the pain, just for the courage to keep being honest, to keep showing up as myself, however imperfect that was. After the party, I drove to the cemetery where Robert was buried. I hadn't been in months. I used to come every week, bringing flowers, talking to his grave, performing grief the same way I'd performed struggle. I sold the house. I told his headstone, the one we were going to raise Kendra in together, the one I held on to because I thought it meant I'd succeeded. I let it go, Robert, and I'm okay. I'm actually okay. The stone didn't answer. It never did. But I felt something shift inside me, a loosening, a letting go. I think I finally understand what you were trying to teach me. That success isn't about proving anything. It's about being honest, about doing work that matters, about loving people more than appearances. My phone buzzed. A text from Kendra. "Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. The real you. The one who's finally showing up." I stood there in the cemetery, reading that message over and over, crying, not from sadness, from relief. I'd spent 22 years building an empire while hiding from myself, thinking that if I just worked hard enough, owned enough buildings, proved enough worth, I'd finally feel like I deserved to exist. But worth isn't something you prove, it's something you accept. I'm Gwendolyn Carter. I'm 57 years old. I came to America with $300 and a dream. I built a $3.9 million commercial real estate portfolio. I employ 58 people. I own 13 buildings, and I spent 2 decades ashamed of all of it. But not anymore. Now I'm just trying to live honestly, to show up as myself, to let people see me, buildings and all, uniform and all, accent and all, to accept that I'm enough. I was always enough. If you're watching this, and you've been hiding part of yourself, please know this. You don't have to perform anymore. You don't have to prove your worth. You're already worthy. You always were. The buildings don't make you valuable. The money doesn't define you. The work, honest work, that's what matters, and having the courage to finally stop hiding. Subscribe if this story resonated with you. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because sometimes the hardest person to be honest with is yourself. And sometimes it takes losing everything to realize you never needed to prove anything at all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for seeing me, the real me. That is Gwendolyn's story. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? What city? What country? Drop it in the comments below. I love seeing our global community come together over these stories. Real question. If you were Gwendolyn, what would you have done? Would you have told Kendra the truth privately, instead of making a public spectacle at the gala? Would you have signed over the house to avoid the confrontation? Or would you have done exactly what Gwendolyn did, exposed Blaine publicly to teach him a lesson about shame? Tell me in the comments. Hit that like button if this story made you feel something. Share it if you know someone who's been hiding their success because they're ashamed of where they came from. Someone who built an empire but still feels like a fraud. Someone who worked 65-hour weeks for 22 years but couldn't accept they'd actually made it. Someone who finally learned that you can't hide from yourself no matter how many buildings you own. And subscribe for more raw, real stories about immigrant struggles, hidden success, internalized shame, class trauma, and the courage it takes to finally stop performing and start living authentically. Thanks for watching. Sometimes the person you're hiding from isn't other people, it's yourself. And sometimes you have to lose everything to realize you were enough all along. The buildings, the money, the empire, none of it makes you worthy. You already were. See you in the next video.